I know you are as excited as I am when you saw the news on FN25 and the first look at the new UI. So today, keep things fresh, I have for you some entertaining and challenging save ideas that you can play until FN25 rolls out. At the end of the video, I even have a team that can only qualify for European football under very special contributions, so stay tuned. The first team that I have for you is going to be the Nagoya Grampus, the team from the J1 League that made Arsene Wenger famous, guys. So if you are trying to replicate an Arsene Wenger career, this is the team for you. They are playing in the J1 League and they are previewed to finish 12th, so it's going to be a challenge as well. When it comes to finances, you have 2.7 million, so you have a bit of money to play with. And when it comes to the squad, I should say that you have some pretty good players. Like this goalkeeper here, Mitchell James Langerak, who is a pretty good goalkeeper, but he is at the end of his career, 34 years old, but he can still do it for one more year. Then you have the likes of Takuji Yonemoto, a very good midfielder, 32 years old, so this team is a bit on the older side. So you really have to rebuild this team if you want to achieve greatness again. Maybe win the J1 League and then go to Europe like Arsene Wenger did and win a lot of things there. Some honorable mentions are Kasper Juncker. This guy 28, and I think you should build your team around this guy and try to find more young players to play in the first 11 to help this guy score a lot of goals and get some very good results for you. If we go to the club info, I can't say that they have crazy rules. Actually, the rules that they have in place are very good for rebuilding the team. So, informational objectives: maximum 1-year contracts for players over the age of 34, maximum 2-year contracts for players over the age of 32, and minimum 2-year contracts for first team players. And they want you to sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. They also have a 5-year plan at the club, finish mid-table in the J1 League, reach the later stages of the All Japan Cup, and reach the later stages of the League Cup. But I truly believe that you can rebuild this team. You have a bit of money and the history is on your side, so I think it's not going to be very tough to actually buy players for this team. When it comes to your facilities, they are pretty good, but I think they need a bit of improvement if you want to compete with the best sides in the league. You have youth facilities, training facilities and youth recruitment facilities at 3.5 stars, which is not bad, but you have a big stadium and you can make a lot of money if you manage to get some very good results. 43,000 capacity, which is more than enough with a perfect field condition. Nagoya Grampus does have a lot of silverware already, but I wouldn't say they are the best team in the J1 League and only you can get them there. They only have one J1 League won. For our second team, we are going to the Turkish third league with Altinordu. Why did I choose this team? This team is very interesting because of their rules that they have, especially the transfer rules that they have in place, and you cannot change them. Previewed to finish 7th in the league, and the rules are like this: you cannot sign non-Turkish players. So with this team, you only have to rebuild it with Turkish players. The only way to change this rule is that you get bought by another president and then he will change the rules. Maybe, it depends, but you can never know. Other rules like sign Turkish players, sign players under the age of 23, so they really want you to make a young team competing and going back in the first division. As for your squad, you have some pretty good young players, Turkish players of course, players like Altar Hidayatoglu here, a very good winger with very good physicals, so mentals, but for this league, I think this guy is very good. Remember, you are playing in the third league of Turkish football, so these players are more than enough for you to actually win the league and qualify for the second league. Also, Metehan Ilmaz here, look at this guy. he has great mentals, great physicals for a player in the third league as well. Onur Toprak as well, another winger on the left. Maybe here you will have a bit of a headache when it comes to who you're going to choose between this guy and Altar, the first guy that I showed you. And then you have two very good young players in Serhan here, the goalkeeper, only 18 years old, only a very nice value as well for the Turkish third league, and pretty good all around stats. And the last but not least, 18 years old as well, midfielder Sami Satilmish. Very good physicals, very good mentals as well, ball winning midfielder and box to box. If you want a great all around midfielder for the third league, I think this guy is for you. You can develop him in a pretty good player. As for the club history, they really don't have much. They just won the third league and the second league once, and basically that was it. They also won the fourth league, but you don't even have the fourth league here in FM24, so that doesn't matter a lot. So with this team you can actually have a very tough challenge, since you don't have a big history and you only can sign Turkish players, and that's it. You will never be able to sign other than Turkish players, not even in the Super League. So that is Altinordu for you. Then for our third pick, we go to the Jupiler Pro League, guys, in Belgium. First league of Belgium, of course, with the likes of Anderlecht, Club Brugge and stuff like that, but we are not going to choose those teams. Instead, we are going to choose Sint-Truiden, guys. Sint-Truiden, why did I choose this club? Because they have a very interesting rule as well. Because they have a Japanese president, you have to focus on signing Japanese players and develop them at the club. They actually managed to develop some very good young players over the years. Players like Takehiro Tomiyasu, as you know, our defender from Arsenal, and players like Hataro Endo, the midfielder from Liverpool. I should say very good players that they developed to play at the highest level of football in Europe, and you can do the same thing. When it comes to your squad, you already have some very good young players. You have Joel Chima Fujita, a DM, only 20 years old, guys. If you haven't heard about this guy, now it's the time. Look at his teamwork, work rate and physicals. Insane physicals for a defensive midfielder with such a good stamina for a 20-year-old. Acceleration, agility, balance, natural fitness. This guy is never going to get injured. He can play with the right foot, left foot as well. You can really turn this guy into a star and sell him for a lot of money to those top teams in Europe. Then for your team you also have guys like Joselfo Barnes, which has very good physical attributes as well. Right footed, very strong, left footed, weak, but I think this guy has everything that you want from your winger. His height is good as well, he's tall, he's strong, and I think he can really do a great job in your team and get those results for you. Then you also have like Frederic Ananu here. This team really focuses on those physical players, which is great because, as you know, in FN24 physical attributes are the most important attributes in the game, especially pace, acceleration and natural fitness, of course. When it comes to the club vision, I wouldn't say they like to pressure you a lot. You just have to finish mid-table in the Jupiler Pro League, and with that team that I have showed you, I think it's going to be a piece of cake actually to do that. Be competitive in the Kruki Cup and also sign Japanese players, as I said before, and sign players based in Belgium. So you can really make a very good, nice team mixed with Japanese and Belgium stars, develop them, sell them, or you can keep them and try to win the Jupiler Pro League against the likes of Arsenal, Club Brugge, Ghent and more. When it comes to finances, you have 2.5 million euros in the bank and a pretty good payroll, so you can actually start signing players from the go. And when it comes to history, you've just won 1 Belgian League Cups and 4 Belgian Challenger Pro Leagues, which is really not a lot. Once again, you have the chance to really make history with a team like Sint-Truiden. and also develop young players as well, Japanese, which is a pretty uncommon rule when it comes to teams in Europe. And now for our fourth team, we are going to England, guys, to Wigan Athletic. Why did I choose this team? Because they are in a very tough position right now. 24th in the league, -8 points because of financial mismanagement. As you know, Wigan has a great history in England. I wouldn't say great, but they still do have some history in England. So if you want a really tough challenge, as you know, English leagues are very hard to climb and win and even stay in after you manage to promote. So Wigan Athletic -8 points in League 1 actually. So I think this challenge is going to be a bit tough for you, considering you have no money in the bank. You do have a little bit of money for your payroll, but I think this is not going to be enough to promote from League 1 in your first year. Even though when it comes to squad, you have some promising players like Charlie Hughes here, 19 years old, and look at this guy. In League 1, I think he's one of the best defenders of League 1. Look at his mentals, technicals and physicals, only 19 years old. Next year I bet some of the greatest teams are going to come for this guy and steal him from you for a lot of money, because he's English and because he's a defender. This guy is going to cost a lot of money just because he can develop into a great player as well. I would even keep this guy in mind for other saves and try to sign him for like lower table teams in like Serie A or even the Spanish La Liga. I think this guy can really actually develop in a great player. Then we have another young player in Sam Tickle, 20 years old, and look at him, guys, look at him. Another very good player for the future that you can build the team around and really get those results. Maybe promotion, but as I said before, is going to be very tough to promote from League 1 in the first season. But with the help of this guy, I think you can actually play for those playoffs. You do have a couple of players that are on loan, but that is expected. It's very tough to have a team full of own players in these lower leagues, and it's not even advisable to do that, since it's going to cost you a lot more money than loaning players. When it comes to club vision, as you can see, for this season we actually don't have that much pressure on us. We just need to avoid relegation from Sky Bet League 1, but I think with that team you can actually get a mid-table finish if you do the things right. Be competitive in the FA Cup, I mean that can mean everything, and reach at least the knockout stages of the Bristol St Motors Trophy. Maximum 1 year contract for players over the age of 32, and that's it. Anything else, you make the rules. And when we go to our history, Wigan actually has an English FA Cup, which is one of the most important cups in modern football. As you know, the great history of the FA Cup is actually insane. I think the FA Cup is one of the oldest trophies that there is in football, so that is not a small thing to win the FA Cup. You also have 4 Sky Bet League 1 championships and 1 League 2 championship. So with Wigan, sky is the limit, and I think this is going to be a very tough challenge for you managers here. So tell me how you did with Wigan if you start a save with it. And last but not least, we have a very special club. Why am I saying that? FC Vaduz from Liechtenstein. They actually play in the Swiss Challenge League, so that is the Swiss first division. Why do they do that? Because Liechtenstein only has 60,000 people in the country, so it's basically more of a glorified city than a country, so they can't really have a championship of their own. So FC Vaduz plays in the Swiss Challenge League, but they have a very interesting rule. You can't qualify for European football if you win the Swiss Challenge League, because you are not from Switzerland, you are from Liechtenstein. So how can you qualify then? You have to win the Liechtensteiner Cup. So the Liechtensteiner Cup is a cup that you play against non-professional teams from Liechtenstein. So because you are the best team from Liechtenstein, that's not going to be very tough. But you can only qualify to the Conference League. So in order to play Europa League or Champions League, you have to win the Conference League. Then you have to win the Europa League to win the Champions League. Otherwise, you cannot qualify for those other competitions. So that is why this challenge is very special, and I would say a bit hard pull off with a team like FC Vaduz. Also, when we go to our club info, look at the facilities. They are bad, guys. 7,000 capacity stadium, small stadium, bad facilities. This is going to really be a challenge for you. History, not much. They did win the Swiss Challenge League 2 times and 49 times the Liechtensteiner Cup. So I think you are favorites to win the cup. And I think you will be in the Conference League year after year. So maybe you can have some money from there if you get the wins and qualify from the group stages. When it comes to finances, it's pretty bad. Only 300,000 euros in the bank, and your salaries are only 51,000 per week. You really have to get those salaries up if you want to compete in the Conference League, and that is going to take years actually. But the squad is not that bad. You have players like Fabrizio Caven here, a Swiss player, a Swiss attacker who can actually do the job for you. 20 years old, pretty good technicals, pretty good physicals, and pretty good mentals, and so I would say a very good all-around striker you have. You can build the team around this player, only 20 years old, so he can actually develop. But remember, you do need to get those facilities up in order for this guy to develop into a world-class player. Alan Naiji here is another player that you can look upon. He is pretty decent in the midfield, but I should say besides this, you really do not have that much space in the squad, that many good players. I mean, look at Saifeddin Chabi here. If I was you, I would look to sell this guy as soon as possible. Maybe with that off the ball he can get some goals, and maybe you can pair him with the other striker, with Fabrizio here, and he will score the goals for you, and this guy will just link up play because his technicals are horrible. But besides from that, the squad is looking really average, so it's going to be a very tough challenge to win anything with this team, but you can build it from the ground up, which is a very interesting challenge. When it comes to the rules that they have, they don't really have many. They want you to make the most out of set pieces, but that's your choice of course. Sign Liechtensteiner players, which that is great. You don't really have that much Liechtensteiner players, but I think if you find one or so, not too many rules, you can basically do whatever you want at this club, rebuild it as you wish. These were the top 5 unique saves that I have for you today, and if you want to check out top 5 secretly rich clubs, I have the link for you right here.